All right, we're live. Hello, everybody. I should adjust this angle here. Welcome to Virtual Studio Party for Monday, February the 14th, 2022, which is Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Yeah, and hence the flowers that look like they're sticking out of my head, and special little hair ornament. And I have gone extra red today. I don't normally paint my nails red, but special treat for today. And it's funny because the last virtual studio party was celebrating Chinese New Year, for which one traditionally wears red. So I feel like I'm having extra Chinese New Year as well. Um, I do think we are only, I think tomorrow might be the last day of the Chinese New Year season. I think the Lantern Festival, which is the final day, is tomorrow. But correct me if I'm wrong, if you happen to be on watching and on the chat. So, so today I have. I should introduce my charming and helpful co-host,
Cal Honey.
Thanks for joining me, Cal. It's awfully nice to have you
I'm
here.
always happy to be along and be your co-host for your virtual studio parties.
Well, it would be pretty hard to do this without you, so I really appreciate it. Um, please. Oh, good. Some people are saying hi. So yes, please say hi if you're here.
Val. And let us know if the sound is passable. We had a little microphone issue, so we're using a backup mic. So hopefully we sound okay. Can you hear me okay? Because you can probably hear Kim better than me, given the mic situation.
Given the angle.
But hopefully it's okay.
It may improve when we go switch to overhead camera if Cal's slightly less audible. Yes, and normally people take some time to trickle in, so I'm just going to get going and ask you if you've brought anything, and or what are you doing for Valentine's Day?
Yeah, cool. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Ruth says sound is good, so thank you, Ruth. We always appreciate having our ears out there.
Really appreciate that.
Cheryl Langy has joined us.
Hi, Cheryl. And
she had a little trouble getting in, but she's here now.
So I'm glad you're here. Yeah. And also, hi, Val. So yeah, good thing I like red so much. That's great, Ruth. It's true. It does seem to be my color. There are other colors I love, but red is the number one for sure.
Go-to, isn't it?
Yeah. It just I don't know. Something happens. It wakes up my whole appearance in a way that nothing else does. So.
Totally. Same here. Like I love red.
Although you also look great in orange.
Well, I do. I wear orange, but
yeah. But your true love is red. Is that what you're saying?
No, but I like it for it's energizing, right? So.
Absolutely.
I mean, not that orange is a shrinking violet or anything. In fact, it's not a violet at all.
Langille or Langille.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, not the French pronunciation. Langille.
My apologies.
Oh, am I drinking a cocktail? Oh, the fact that it's you asking, Ruth, it just no, I'm not. And we're actually all glad I'm not drinking this early in the day, to be honest. But this is my energy drink of choice, which is Coke Zero. And so that I'm propping myself up because I'm actually very tired today.
She hasn't yet succumbed to Red Bull. But
no,
with the quantities of Coke Zero, I can see Red Bull on the horizon.
Red Bull's coming, is it? Yeah, I don't know. I don't want the heart palpitations. I'm too old for that.
Rebecca has joined us. Hello, Rebecca. Welcome along. She says, "Happy Valentine's Day."
Yeah. Please let us know if you and Kirk have anything planned that you'd care to share.
Yeah. And Bruce says, "Lol," as you can imagine.
I can. Totally. Yeah, so I got this, I think it was last season. I'll call it season, like it's a TV series. I did some wood burning on the virtual studio party, and I got this far on this heart. And I had intended to get much further, but life happened as it does. And even though I have all kinds of reasons to be making my studio work the number one priority, and I should be immersed in it anytime I'm not sleeping at this point because the shows are coming up so soon. We've got elders to uh, worry about and do things for and whatever. So they've been occupying a lot of mental space and a lot of practical time and so on. So it only got this far, but it's kind of neat, and it's a very different way of working. But there was something quite satisfying about it. Now, for that, I was using a very simple pyrography, which is the term for a wood burning drawing pyrography kit that was just a few nibs, and then last virtual studio party, I'd actually originally intended to continue. Couldn't for the life of me. I looked and Cal looked everywhere. How this is the wonder that is our house. Our complete, yeah. Don't get me started. So, couldn't find that kit. Now, when I was working on it and doing more research into pyrography, wood burning, I realized I needed and wanted a more capable kit than that. It was was not intended to be a highly capable kit because I want to do, those of you who know me and my work may know that I do very expressive drawings in charcoal often or ink, and a wide range of mark making is what I do. So for wood burning, you need the right tools to do that, right? So I bought something, and I'm going to very slowly move this camera so that I don't make everybody super seasick. There we go. So it has this control center, which provides the power, and that has variable heat. And it has two pens, and you can alternate between two pens and therefore two nibs. But it's also different kinds of nibs. They're not solid like the other one. Let me put it against a light background, Kim. There we go. There we go. It's wire, partly flattened. They heat up and cool down more quickly, so you can change the nibs. Now, I didn't buy a set that was quick nib replacement, sadly, but anyway, it expands my possibilities. This is my little dish. If I can point the camera in the correct direction. Wow, working backwards has just never been my forte. There are the nibs that came with it, and there's all by itself. Sorry, up there, a nib that I want to try out after I try out the two that I already have installed. So I think I've managed to do that without making everybody totally seasick.
Just pass along a couple of things in between. Rebecca says she just learned that they're ordering Indian food for Valentine's Day.
Excellent.
I replied, a little spice for Valentine's Day.
That's right.
And apparently Kirk has a gift or something as a surprise coming.
Wow.
She didn't plan anything.
Well, isn't that nice? Well done, Kirk, is what I say.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
And Philippa has joined us. Hello, Philippa. And she says, hi, I remember when you did that, presumably the expressive drawing.
Heart.
Oh, right.
The wood burning heart.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. And she says, happy Valentine's Day. I figured it would be right up your alley. Yes, being with the hearts. Right?
Yeah.
It's true.
Exactly. So I was hoping to actually produce a I have a lot of hopes and dreams and plans that burn up like that in that fire to ash. But yeah, I was hoping to produce a special artwork in time for Valentine's Day and offer it up, but it didn't happen. So another time.
You did make a lovely card for your godmother
I
in
did.
long-term care, and
I
you
did.
visited her and made her day. So
yeah, bought her clothes and bought her toiletries, and
that's all noble work.
yeah. So good. All right. Is there anything else you want to convey while I switch to overhead camera?
Yes. Ruth says, my husband is on a full-day Zoom boating course.
How romantic.
I told him we don't need to do anything for Valentine's Day, but that I would cook something special. I'm making coq au vin. Wow.
Wow, that's lovely.
We'll be right over.
I haven't had coq au vin in years, and I remember loving it. Okay, I've got to get this positioned correctly somehow. I'm seeing too much of the computer. There we go. Okay, that's better, right? Right, you won't see it for a minute, but it's a little tilted, I feel like.
I had it all set up, but for your
Okay, no, I can see what's happening and you can't, so just
you can't just name it because it'll hurt the stuff. How's that?
that's better.
Okay, good.
It's not what I was hoping for.
It's also upside down.
Oh, is it? Okay. Please. Well,
Yeah,
that
might
explains
explain
the problem, actually. So Cal's going to turn it right side around. Sorry for the sudden. So now, yeah, okay, well, that's not too bad. All right, so I've got my, this nib here, keep your hands well away from what I'm showing, is straight on one side and rounded on the other. So this is a kind of tool that I believe is called a shader. So you can get areas of tone built up with it, with more coverage than a pointed nib. So I'm just going to see how well it works. I have some concerns that the angle of the nib is not right for using. So I might need to increase the angle so that I can actually...
Oh, so they're like malleable so that you can...
when they're hot.
Warm. Yeah, that makes sense. So
don't do this when they're cold.
Don't try this at home, kids. Val says, John bought chocolates and a mochaccino for me. Had a nice dinner last night instead of tonight. Cornish hens. Wow. Oh,
Cornish hens. Those are lovely.
I tell you, you guys are putting us to shame.
Okay, broke the nib. So one down. Let's switch it. I'll have to heat up the other nib.
Well, they should heat up relatively quickly.
Yes,
the lightweight wire.
They should. Yeah. So I did a little playing earlier, but it's a problem if they're not at the right angle because you can't actually get the surface of the nib on the surface you're drawing on. So I'm just going to adjust the light because it's not
quite where it needs to be. How's this one? Maybe down a bit.
Yeah. More light on the surface here. There we go. That's a little better. It still seems a bit shady. Yeah. So this is the fun part of working with a new tool and doing it live in a live stream is you don't know if it's going to work or not. So it could be great, could be a disaster. Let's see. So this is a different nib. It's another kind of shader. But again, because the angle is so shallow, you see that there we go. The actual pen holder gets in the way of being able to get full contact of the nib. Now I can get some of it on there, but one of the things you're not supposed to do is really press.
Right.
You're just supposed to let it. You just hold it in place,
right,
and then move it along at the pace that seems right for the effect you want. It's, you know, it's fine at the edge. I can get all the there. I can get. Ooh, that's kind of fun. Just sort of printmaking with the nib.
Right. Well, being an artist, like they're thinking that you'll only use the tip, right? But being an
No,
artist, really?
because
okay.
the shaders are meant to be.
To actually.
That's why they're flattened.
Right. Right.
But if they're flattened but not at the right angle,
then it's academic.
Yeah. It's meaningless. So, variable temperature, I've started conservatively. You notice a lot of heat had built up, so the first impression was very, very dark. But now that I'm working, it's like it's losing heat. So I'm going to turn up the temperature on my control. It's all an adventure. I have no, you know, I've read up on this. I've watched some videos.
But this is sort of the first hitting.
This is me.
Road,
yeah,
right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's really all this.
Cheryl says, we don't do anything for Valentine's, and I'm good with that.
Right. Well, that's fine. You do
right?
what you.
Yeah, exactly.
As the saying goes, you do you. I just like celebrating things. That's basically it. It's not that Cal and I don't celebrate our love for each other and for our friends at other times. That's for sure. But it shouldn't be a replacement for that. And if you believe the advertising, it kind of is, right? Well, I don't know. I am
convinced.
I'm a little past halfway on the temperature, but it's very faint once I've made my initial impression.
So it doesn't recover as quickly as you're hoping.
No, I mean it. You know, to work, it needs to recover more quickly than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is supposed to be the advantage of these wire ones, actually,
right,
is that they
there's
do
so little to heat up that it should be able to stay hot.
Exactly. Yeah, got a really nice scorch there. Let's try some kind of a. It's better if I hold it up closer to the camera, isn't it?
This is why it's good to have your test sheet, or in this case, test piece wood.
That's right. I have my old test piece from the previous tool that I can't find. I trust that one day it will turn up. God help me, though. I have no idea where. But I thought it would be most useful to have a separate piece of wood to test this tool out on. So at the moment, I'm not impressed with my Amazon pyrography kit. And thinking that maybe I should have done a little more research and bought one of the name brand ones that, you know, as one might. But sometimes you get lucky with these unknown makes of things. So, and sometimes you don't.
Well, it does look like it the initial burst is good, and then
it's too much, and then it's not enough. And see what happens when I move to the middle of a piece of wood, like one would do doing pyrography.
Yeah.
It's only the tip that's able to do anything.
Yeah.
So all that flattened surface is
really,
useless.
yeah.
So it's but that is an interesting line. Just bring it up close.
Lori Graham has joined us. Hello, Lori.
Hi, Lori.
And she says, "Hi, all. I heard it can also be called Valentine's Day for your pals and friends."
I love that.
Yeah, that's
yes, because I love is a lot more than whether you have a partner or not.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so much more. So I like that. I hadn't heard that term before.
No, me either. But I'm totally on board with that.
I'm adopting it. So, Lori, since you've just joined us, I'm just going to say I got a new pyrography or wood burning kit. Oops, I've lost focus here. A metaphor for my life. Okay, there's focus. Excellent. Let's move farther away. Let's keep focus, shall we? Little camera. Try not to burn myself. Yeah, that's not in focus. Okay, I'm going to try another method. There, that's in focus now. There we go. It'd be nice if I could just hit a button to get it to go into focus instead of having to go through all these.
Oops.
Yeah, I sort of couldn't figure out. There's a word that I was looking for, but I couldn't find it. That's happens to me a lot since my concussion in 2018. So apologies to those listening who are like, man, I wish she would just finish that sentence. I sympathize. I feel the same way.
Yeah, you wish you would finish it.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. Ooh. So I can use the edge of the tip to get a very fine cross hatching. Let me do a little area here. But you have to be careful of the speed. You get a kind of blob the way you might with pen and ink at the beginning and end, depending on how long you hold it there. And it looks like you can get better at reducing or minimizing the blob.
If you sort of have a soft onset, does it help? Like a sort of...
Yeah, like a plane landing and taking off.
Yeah.
That actually is the secret. Yeah.
Lori says, I've used that tool before. It was very challenging to get the pressure right.
Yeah.
That's sort of what Kim's experiencing right now. She's a little frustrated, but
well,
it's
and
also
I've read, let the tool do the work. Don't really press, like just press for contact, but there's a lot more to it than that. a lot more sensitivity.
You begin at the starting place.
Yeah, the starting place. So yeah, I mean, I can get a nice crosshatch, but I could get a nice crosshatch out of a pointy tool. This is supposed to be a shader, and you can see a little bit here. I'm getting a little bit of tone here, but that's at the edge of the board, where I can hang this pen off and get full contact, as you say. Yeah. It's still like kind of a mystery how maybe I should clean the carbon off. Let's see. Comes with these little sponges that go in the pen holders, because carbon buildup has a negative impact on the burner. A lot of studio process for me is patient trying and discovering, trying, noticing, varying what I'm trying.
And learning what a tool will do, or learning what
a process will do, or certain materials will do, or just playing with what I can do with something I know in order to try and notice something that I don't normally take advantage of and see if there's something interesting there. I mean, yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to switch nibs, I think.
Because you work with a lot of different media, often with media that are new to you, your learning curve is frequent in terms of, I mean, you learn all kinds of things, but with
tools
and media changes more frequently than someone who's like an acrylics painter, period, or mostly period, right?
Yeah. Yeah. To think I started in just painting and drawing, right? It's amazing. I say just, it meaning numbers of things. There's not to minimize the value of painting and drawing.
Exactly. But just in terms of
which I love.
That you were juggling, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, there's the nib I want.
In those circumstances, you can go very deep on any of those media in terms of what they're capable of.
Well, thank you, dear. I try to, following my particular interests. Well, like how I painted as someone looking at, I'm thinking of my 2019 show at the Redhead Gallery, where I was investigating hearts and, anatomical hearts and states of the human heart and so on. That led me down, in painting terms, down a number of paths that were very different for me as a painter. And I loved it. I loved it. In fact, I would like to do more in that series. But I'm doing something different for this show, of course. And
because it's a new show, right? You don't want to be doing what you were doing last time.
Well, no, it's because of major life events, right?
Yes.
So the new show, both of them, I'm scheduled to be in a group show for Contact as well at the Art Gallery of Mississauga, and opening sometime in May. I haven't got dates yet. I hope to get dates because I want to apply for a grant, and you need to have dates for your show.
Could come in handy having those dates.
Seriously, eh?
Lori says, it's kind of like science. Do you have a method of documenting your learning?
That's very interesting. A method would be too
helpful.
I do note down certain things, and I don't note down everything, because I sort of have to balance. Where did I put the nib that I wanted? Honestly, I had it, and now I've lost it. I note down enough that I have clues when I come back.
Right, just enough of sort of a breadcrumb trail to pick it up again.
But I don't need, unlike science, I don't need other artists replicating to prove my the value of my work.
Yeah.
So I don't have to document it perfectly by any stretch. I just need enough that I will be off to the right start,
That's interesting. I teach, I haven't taught it in a while because of COVID, but we'll be back in Halliburton this summer teaching a course called Experimental Watercolor. Yeah. And it's, that means there are a lot of things we do, but some of it is definitely, and depending on the nature of the student, is very experimental in terms of like, find out what you can do. What do these things do?
Yeah.
And if you're that kind of person, note it down. And it's very interesting to walk around the room, and some people have like very square swatches with careful printing underneath them.
Yeah.
And other people have like this big sheet full of it.
Full of,
and I say, ooh, how'd you get that? And
a
they go like,
morass.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's, you know, it's all valid. We just all go about it very differently.
Just depends on,
yeah.
You know, I do take notes, or I will write them in retrospect, because I know some of the materials and processes well enough that I can pick apart. In fact, part of what I do when we do gallery walk and talks, or teaching, or just for my own research, looking at other people's art,
forensic,
and
right?
Yeah, with a forensic attitude, in order to, okay. And this is why you have to see the work in person in order to do this, because you can't, unless they've got an extraordinary documentation of.
You can sometimes make some
of the work
guesses, but yeah, it's
you need to be able to see it at different angles, different light, all that kind of stuff.
But I think
it's fascinating, though.
I think a lot of artists actually really like that, about going to the gallery and trying to like, okay, how did they do that?
Yeah, that's amazing.
What's
like, that about?
That's a great effect, or that's a really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did?
Okay. This is a nib that a lot of the pyrographers in the book I have seem to consider a pretty important shape. So I thought I would try it.
Lori replies, I would imagine that would be a lot of organizing info.
Well, you know, and that clearly that's not my strong point. I have this weird brain. I really do I could just stop there. That could be the complete sentence. But I have devised and designed systems for people, for me, for departments, for our business, and so on. And yet, as an artist, and in our home life, let's just say it's not been maybe given enough attention and energy. I remember way back in my 20s, when I was art department manager at Q Publishers. There was one of the IT guys from the IT department, Victor, I think his name was. He was a concert pianist, actually, as well as being a tech guy. But I remember he said to me, "You could be a systems analyst." Like, that's how decent I was at working out systems, figuring out systems, decoding systems. And yet, you'd never know it if you came to our house, and please don't, which is nothing personal, but it's not ready for
not fit
public
for consumption.
Yeah.
Public, at least.
Yeah. We have to get rid of a lot of my godmother's things, and that will help a lot. But yeah, it's terrible, and I think it's because of limited attention and energy, and I have chosen to apply it to other things, like my art. And nowadays, all the elders and coping and coping has included all kinds of new activities. So this does seem to be a fairly useful drawing tool, so I'm going to keep this one in and maybe start. I was sort of hoping to use a shader, a nice shading tool, to bring some broad tonal marks into the preliminary stage of my drawing today, but I'm not optimistic, so I'm just going to start with this tool because it feels like it's going to produce something useful. And did I put a new nib in the other one? Yes, I did. So I'll work with this one for a bit and then I'll try the other one. Now I have to pick a heart, so I guess I'll put this in the stand for a moment. I have these handy duotangs with references in them. I have way more antique anatomical hearts on my computer, but it's just I must print more of them out because I end up using some of the same ones over again.
Cheryl very kindly said, "Loved your course, Cal." Thank you, Cheryl. And she said, "That course is where I learned the mantras I use. Don't think, just do something when I get stuck."
Yeah.
And Lori says, "Different parts of the brain, executive functioning versus / planning versus creating, innovating, etc." Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I used to have stronger executive functioning than I have now. I mean, you know, I guess my brain's been through a lot.
Yep, it has. It has.
It really has. So,
one door
some days
narrows,
it's better than others.
And another one gets wider open. That's all.
That's right. Well, I think I'm going to use that reference, and I'm going to use this stand to hold it up. So this is the reference I'm going to use. And it's not a terrific quality digitization of an old heart, but it gives me nice structures, I think. I like the forms. So I'll just clip it on. These are my favorite clips. I've probably mentioned these a few times over the couple of years we've been doing these. But these are Betty Crocker chip clips, basically, from Dollarama, the dollar store. And you get 5 on a card in the kitchen department for $3. And they're great if you have, you know how bulldog clips can be very difficult to open, just depending on the bulldog clip, or if you have any hand issues. These have just the right amount of resistance, for me anyway, definitely easier than normal bulldog clips. And they have rubber grips inside, so it protects the surface of what you're clipping, which is nice too. And they're lightweight, so. And they last a long time, in my experience, so that makes me pleased as well, because.
Well, they're not super aggressive either, right? They're like,
no,
they hold well.
They hold nicely.
I use mar work as much, right?
Yeah, I use them a lot for. Well, I first started using them for life drawing and portrait drawing, but I also use them a lot in book arts. So, you know, altered books and artist books and so on. So, geez, Kim, look at your reference and maybe figure out what you're doing here. I'm gonna move this. Would you mind refilling this glass?
No, I don't.
Thank you, dear. All right.
Lori says, "Didn't we all?"
Uh-oh. Did you just poke yourself? Cal's doing some kind of stitching.
I'm doing some mending.
Ah, that's good.
Yeah. So.
Someone here was doing stitching of some kind last week or the week before. I don't remember. Okay. It's always good to get a kind of spatial, when you're drawing in any medium, develop a spatial, without making a mark, understanding of how you're going to be positioning this drawing. move it relatively quickly so I get fine, faint lines. As a starting point.
Pull on reinforcements.
Thank you very much.
Where it says, have better planning ability when younger. Yes,
Hmm.
I definitely have that feeling that I can't plan my way outside of a paper bag. Whereas I used to juggle so many things. But
Well,
it's also
there are a lot of brain changes as you get older, and one of them that I read about and observed in my own students is because I teach some digital courses as well, is the procedural brain in most people suffers as we age. It's like we switch to different emphasis in our function, because the other thing I read about was that experience of the arts is increased, the brain activation just as an experiencer of the arts, not a maker, is much bigger in older people than it is in younger people.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, because one of the things we notice is that an awful lot of people come to visual art when they're older. Now, in the case of a lot of women,
it's finally when they have time.
Yeah, they're empty nesters finally. They have some time, they have some energy, they're finally able to do some things for themselves. Saying I'm saying the average middle class woman probably in that scenario, right? And so that's when we tend to see them. We also see a lot of retired teachers in our classes. Because they love to learn.
Yeah, they're like, now someone else can drive and I can keep
and they
I
love
can
it.
learn.
They
Exactly.
just drink it in. It's really fun. It's also a real compliment that they like our classes. Well, it's nice that you can draw these faint lines. I must say, I wasn't anticipating that about wood burning. I didn't really have a whole lot of expectations, because I had very little knowledge about wood burning. It's just something I know I need to do, because conceptually it works for what I'm doing for my show, one show. Yeah. And of course it's a little distorted, so I'll just draw and redraw. It's a wonderful thing about drawing. Very often the more working lines you add, the more interesting the drawing, or the more you correct errors with a new line.
And it adds to the...
Yeah, it gives it soul, gives it life.
It speaks to the process of a drawing being made, but it also just adds life.
It's representative of life, right? Because life is constantly... Things get pruned, new things grow back, or replacements grow in, or
and It's
Yeah.
iterative, right? It sort of builds on top of what was there. It doesn't. Very rarely is the slate wiped completely clean, which is good, right? Because we're always gaining knowledge. So that's kind of, and that's actually what your sort of searching lines when you're drawing are. They're gaining knowledge, right? You're sort of figuring out what you're doing.
Your brain's comparing it and thinking about it.
Looks at that line and thinks, no, a little higher, and no, a little more curve. And,
that's right.
And it needs to wiggle a bit more to express that, and et cetera, right?
Yeah.
But unless you had that line there, you wouldn't necessarily know that.
No, something the brain is super, super good at is compare and contrast. So you actually need to put the first line in order to get the better line.
Yeah.
You can't just get it better with the first line. You can only get it better with having.
I think people get facility as they get closer.
Oh yeah, that first line gets better and better.
Exactly, from the more practice. But yeah.
And of course, there are masters of their art form that they're just operating at a different level with that function, right?
Yeah.
Because that mastery means you can start aiming for other things.
Yeah, it becomes about.
So it may be a beautiful, wonderful first line, but not the line that does the thing that they want emotionally, conceptually, whatever it is, qualities.
Shooting for, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Beyond likeness and beyond
making a good solid drawing,
recording, yeah.
Whether it's abstract or conceptual or representational. Words, eh? Words.
Are you liking those words, Kim? Sounds like it.
Words are good when you can find them.
When you can find them, they're great.
Yeah. They're awesome.
Oh, man.
Yeah, some days are better than others, right?
We should do a podcast called Lost and Found Words, where we're 50+ podcast.
We could call it Searching for Words. I think that would be an excellent name for a podcast. Yeah. Actually, the microphone that the YouTube interface wouldn't recognize today when we were trying to go live, it's a nice microphone, and I bought it several years ago thinking I was going to start a podcast, which never happened.
Not yet.
But now, ever since we started doing these live streams, it's been great.
It stepped up to the mic
and for teaching as well.
Yeah, it's been it's come into its own.
It has. That's good. And it's good for my singing as well.
And a couple of months, 2 or 3 months into the first year of COVID, I remember someone asking us, "Where did you get that mic?" And because apparently they were like,
there was a huge run on mics,
because of course everyone was trying to find stuff to do online.
Well, and all the teachers who were having to switch to online and didn't own mics.
Yeah.
Sound is hugely important. Sound quality for comprehension and attention.
Say we on our less than perfect microphone
well,
today.
That's just life.
Do what you can do.
That's just life.
Do, right? Yeah.
We're here.
Yeah.
Right?
We are here.
With all of you.
Yay.
Yay. Thank you for coming, everybody. It would be sad if we were here all by ourselves talking into the void.
But we would be.
Yeah, we would
Yep.
be, because there are the people who listen to the replays.
Yep.
It would lose energy, though.
It would. It would. No danger of that.
Yeah.
And well, it occurs to me, because sometimes
Yeah.
it doesn't occur to me.
Yeah.
If you guys wouldn't mind giving the video a thumbs up, if you're happy to
Oh,
be near
thank
your
you,
laptop.
dear. That's very
It's always
good thinking.
to helps more people find us, and
It really does.
helps YouTube say, oh, this is something people
like.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's very helpful.
Yes. So
the most important thing is that you're here.
Yeah.
But
well, exactly.
If you don't mind liking it, that would be very nice. Yeah. So I'm preparing for a little mini concert with my singing teacher and her other students. So that always focuses brings some energy to the singing practice sessions and focuses the mind. It's like very like having an art show. Makes sure that you actually buckle down and get a whole bunch of work produced along whatever theme or approach that you're taking with that show. Yeah, it sharpens the mind. So I'm noticing something very different here between the two. So I'm still just drawing faintly. A couple of things that are very different. One is I'm getting a lot of these little, because I'm working faintly, but I pause, getting a lot of these dots, blob type things. So that's just going to be part of the nature of this drawing. But also this tool is much more fluid. I can get more sinuous lines than I was able to get with this one, because it was a more chisely.
It was kind of like working with a chisel marker.
Yeah, it was. And so all the curves are made up of sort of angles, and some very gentle arcs that I could persuade the tool to do. This, of course, is much darker, because I was just I did a pencil sketch underneath and then went straight for the full-on darkness, unlike the one that I'm doing right now. So I'm going to pause and have a drink.
Cheers.
Well, it's sort of interesting. I'm just noticing the fact I'm drawing an anatomical heart while talking about brain science. At some point, I guess I'm going to have to draw some brains.
I think so.
Yeah. Oh, I needed that.
Sometimes it hits the spot, eh?
It does. It really does. Okay, I feel like what I should do is sort of pick an area that I can better develop, but maybe I'll finish this.
Sharon Wadsworth Smith has joined us.
Hi, Sharon.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, so cool.
Long time no see.
Yeah, wow. So fun.
Have you ever been to one of our live streams, Sharon? I can't recall if you were maybe in attendance at an early one last year or 2020.
That's awesome.
It's very nice to see you. I hope you are well and painting like mad and not experiencing a creative. Some people have been experiencing creative drought during COVID.
Understandably. I mean, come on.
Yeah. But I hope hopefully you've not been.
And Val says, "Hey, Sharon," and she says this is her first. So.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah. I'm so glad you came.
That's great. And Val and Sharon know each other, so that's great. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, of course, from
From SPA.
SPA, yeah. That's
which is now called Intensive
else.
Studio Practice or something. Which is
better name for
is closer to the name we actually all of us proposed, the faculty team who developed the program. But the ministry, I mean, thank God they didn't call it what they wanted to. I think the word artistic was in it or something. It was just appalling. It's like they had no clue what the language that is used in contemporary art, and they thought somehow that they did. Not exactly sure why, but anyway, nice memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Cheryl says singing is great for the memory, which is great because you're doing a lot of singing, aren't you, Kim?
Yes.
Like crazy. And
thank you, Cheryl. That's, I've actually noticed that it's getting easier. I'm not saying it's easy yet, but I am finally, after 10 months, finding it easier to learn new songs.
Right.
Because you're learning music, lyrics, and musical cues, and that's been tough.
Yeah, she says for the chorus, or maybe chorus I belong to. I think maybe I belong to. We have to learn the songs off the page, and we have about 15 songs in our repertoire. So yeah, that's a fair bit of learning and well, memorizing, right? So
yeah. I use YouTube to learn my songs. I think maybe my teacher has given me a recording of something when it was I think even it was an Italian song she had me learning, and she found a recording on YouTube of it. It was too high for me though, boy. When I was young, of course, my voice was higher, and I could, but it was never, I could do soprano and alto, but I could never do the highest soprano stuff. So I guess I was more of a mezzo soprano. But now I sing with the guys. Anyway, I love learning the new songs and finding new songs to learn. And it's definitely a brain workout. There's no question. As well as being artistically expressive. So that's the magical combination for me. I'm hooked. I'm hooked.
Sharon says it's snowing like crazy here.
Really?
But I'm painting like crazy, which is perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully maybe the snow cover is giving you good light, because boy, the light you can get if there's snow cover outside can be fantastic.
She does confirm that she and Val met in ISP SPA.
Yeah. Boy, that was a few years ago now.
Wasn't it?
It's hard to believe, but I liked a lot of things about that program. Hopefully you did too, the two of you who were in it. But one thing I always wished was that I could have had more time with everyone.
With the students, yeah.
Yeah, just in the studio, just talking things over. That was the thing that most excited me about being part of the program, was the conversations in studio about the work. For everyone else who's listening, ISP or SPA is a graduate certificate offered by Halliburton School of Art and Design in studio practice, and there's some theory, there's There were presentations by artists, and visiting artists would come and look
it
at
was
work.
like a 3-month program, right? And
3 or 4 months.
Yeah, and students.
4 months, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was
16 weeks.
April to August, I think, something like
that.
Anyway, right?
Something like that.
And Kim and I were blessed to be part of the, I don't know what you'd call it, charter faculty, or like the faculty.
Well, we were on the curriculum development team, and then we helped deliver it right from the get-go. Yeah.
And it was quite interesting for us because we got to work with, we met a few
dear friends, actually.
Dear friends, yeah, exactly. And people who had MFAs, which neither Kim nor I have. So they had
that was really important.
Very different, interesting perspective, which was great.
But no sense of superiority about it.
No.
Just different, everyone brings what they bring.
Yeah. Val says spa was intense, but the best thing for me really got me motivated.
Yeah.
No, Val, you just like.
You always had lots of ability, but I feel like you didn't have a great sense of focus before that. And you kind of found
no problem there now, right? Yeah.
Found your oeuvre. That and the residency you did after.
And I think when you apply yourself in that intense way for that length of time,
you grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big time.
You definitely can develop.
There. That's kind of a nice and gnarly feeling, which I actually like thinking about. Our hearts aren't prettified.
No,
our
exactly.
Hearts go through a lot.
Yep.
So
in fact, that's
I really like that. So now I'll darken up some of these lines.
Both metaphorically and physically, right? I mean, the heart is such a...
It's insane that it just keeps beating and beating and beating all through until it stops.
For the whole, exactly. Your whole life. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Sharon says, spa changed the way I thought about art and made me so much more into playing with new techniques.
Yes, that's wonderful,
Experimental,
Sharon.
Right? Yeah, try things.
Well, also, Sharon, I remember you took my, for years, I taught a course on altering acrylics with mediums, playing with a big range of possibilities that way. And it was very popular, and Sharon took it because it was very relevant to what you were exploring with your painting. And so that was really nice that you were in it. Every year I taught it, there was always a little bit of evolution from the previous year, as there should be. And sometimes a slight shift in the mediums. But yeah, it was too much work because I wanted to save students money and effort, and also make sure they had the right stuff. So I bulk ordered mediums, and then I or my assistant, I had some interns and volunteers help me portion it all out into bottles. So I'd have I don't know how many students I would have, 12 or 14, and each of them would get 8 different bottles or jars for $100.
Yeah, but all doled out
and labeled, and
you needed a massive spreadsheet to keep track of it.
I did, and getting it quoted every year was a big job,
and getting it ordered in time,
getting the order accurate,
make it from the US in time for this
course.
Oh my God,
some of the heart attacks we had.
I mean, it was a killer course, but it was a killer course for the instructor as well.
It did kind of completely exhaust me
Yeah.
with that whole process. So I'm not teaching it anymore, but it was a good course.
Sharon says, and it was a whole lot of fun.
I'm glad.
Even the flies and the pouring mediums. Yeah,
That's just added protein in your paintings. Oh my God. Yeah. And really the whole spirit of the class was kind of good because it was very experimental. Like it's kind of a reflection of where I'm at as an artist as well as a teacher, because there was lots of technical information that's useful, important, useful technical information about the materials and how they work and so on. But then experimentation, samples, tests, playing, some specific exercises so that specific things get explored, and then just discovery, which is to me that's a great expression of what studio time is about, what studio practice is about. So yeah, like me learning pyrography.
So I'm seeing that you're now using it more for drawing lines. And how is
so I'm just darkening up those lines because I was doing them fainter.
Yeah.
To sort of lay them in. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not good at this process, so a good pyrographer would doubtless get less gnarly lines, but I'm totally cool with the gnarliness. This nib for this set is working well. I have another nib that I'll heat up once I've darkened a few more of these and test out on this drawing. It's quite different shape, but a similar kind of nib, unlike the shader nib that I was having frustrations with, because I couldn't really shade with it because it wasn't bent at the right angle. Anyway, because of my singing lessons, to just move back to a previous topic, I've just noticed, and that's why I'm moving to it, I constantly have songs running through my head.
Yeah, and I have songs that Kim sings running through my head a lot.
Poor Cal.
It's fine. It's good. And interestingly, because Kim's been singing a Coldplay song called Yellow, and I don't hear the Coldplay version in my head. I hear your version.
Oh, that's lovely.
So cool.
Because their version's so iconic. That whole video. I mean, that was the song that really launched them as stars, right?
It was my first awareness of
them.
They
certainly
probably
mine.
In the UK they were more.
Yeah, but that was the song that made them international stars. It's a beautiful song. I love it. And it's one of the 2 songs I'm going to be performing in that little mini concert. So yes, I am practicing it a lot, and so Cal hears it a lot. And when we drove to out of town to visit my godmother, I practiced singing it a cappella in the car, because that's one of the ways I learn. I make sure I know the song is by singing it a cappella. Okay, so those are just about all darkened up. And now I'm going to heat up the other tool, which fortunately doesn't take too long. There's just like a switch where you switch sides, which side is getting heated up.
Oh, that's great. So you have the 2 tools plugged in at the same time.
Yeah. But only one of them's actively getting the power.
Because, yeah.
Yeah. Because can you imagine?
I can.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure their insurance company could imagine too.
Yeah. So I have my tools on ceramic tiles.
Right. The bases that the safe bases
Yeah.
that they provide
They
are also on ceramic tiles for
Yeah.
extra
I
safety, right?
and this is a double thick silicone mat. Now it's not designed for wood burning, but it is at least a modicum of heat protection for our beautiful big cutting mat that's underneath. Because this is a kind of a jumbo cutting mat, so I don't want to be hurting it.
4 feet, right? So it's,
Yeah,
it's massive.
yeah, exactly. I love it, actually. It was such a great thing when we bought it and put it on this table. And bought it actually because we were teaching online and doing things like this. Oh, right, it's that other one that I'm warming up, and I don't want that cable
anywhere close to the tips.
No. It's interesting that the handles are pretty good, though. If you don't go, like that yellow sort of warns you, don't go there.
Right. But the rest of the handle's cool.
Yeah, or just
or very light,
totally,
slightly warm.
Totally manageably warm.
Yeah, that's great.
I had asked Cal to bring me my my cabinet making work gloves, which are goat skin, in case the handles were actually too hot.
But not turning out to be.
But it's fine, yeah, which I'm glad about because I would rather not burn my goat skin gloves, frankly. They feel fabulous. So how's everybody else doing? Are you?
Yeah. What are you guys?
You working on anything? Val, are you working on a collage per chance? and
sounds like Sharon is painting. And what
well,
are you up
that's
to,
good.
Rebecca?
Yes, Rebecca is often doing macrame or Cal's homework, one or the other. And everyone else, of course, if you are working on something and you have a moment, you can pause to let us know how it's going, what you're doing. That would be awesome.
Val says, working on Februage collage.
Ah,
excellent.
Yes.
Yeah. We're just about, in fact, we're at the halfway point of February, right?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Halfway through, Val.
Exactly.
Especially once this collage is done, right?
That's right. All right, let's see if it's warmed up.
Rebecca is working on a card for a friend. Excellent.
Oh, nice.
In what sort of media?
All right.
Cards could be quite a number of things.
This is the nib.
This nib, Kim?
This is the nib I'm using.
Oh, wow.
So it's like the one I was just using, but this different shape. And so I'm really hoping that that angled edge is going to give me the opportunity to shade.
Yeah. Well, test on your scrap piece.
Oh, what a good idea, Cal. You're so smart. So it gives you the chance to do a straight line.
Yeah.
But let's try slowly moving it across. Ooh, sort of stuttery.
That's pretty great, actually. It's kind of like a lateral crosshatch because it gives you vertical chatter.
Yeah,
oh, that's so cool.
I'll do sort of an area and then I'll hold it up closer to the camera so you can see it properly. Because it's obviously way too small to get a real sense of it.
Sharon says, just finished a big painting, but having more fun with trying little works now.
Yeah.
Just big knives, no brushes. Oh, that's great. Lovely. Big knives and little works. You got to love it, right?
That sounds like fun.
Scale change. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like icing a cupcake with a shovel.
You know that's going to be an exercise in one of Cal's class. Yeah. You can't really do it with watercolors, though, because there's not enough body.
Not yet. But the gauntlet is down.
Well, I mean, you could add gel, because compatible with gel. Oh, this is beautiful. What's happening here? Actually, I'm just going to do a little more of this.
You're not going to have to get a different one. You're just going to have to get better with Oh, words.
Words.
Get.
Kim and Cal's Searching for Words podcast, brought to you by the Shorter Oxford Dictionary.
And your host,
Um,
Kim. Kim. I know Kim's one of them.
Yeah.
And the other one's alliterative, I think.
Yeah.
K, Kai,
Yeah.
Ku.
Okay. I should put this away in its stand for a moment. So this is what I just did with that.
Awesome. I love it.
And look at the dimension I can get.
Yeah, it's like a I love the chatter.
Yeah.
That's great.
So what I should do, that's with the grain. What I should do is go across the grain, doing that same.
How that works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheryl says, I completed today's sketching, 3x5 minute sketches. It's a challenge put out by a free 3-day course. Gabrielle challenged us this for 7 days, so you end up with 21 sketches. That's great.
Lovely. Yeah. I actually just signed up for free poetry prompts.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. By some place in England.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kim's been taking a writing course as well.
Have I been doing a few things, Cal?
Writing, singing, learning Korean.
Yeah.
Working on an art show, and learning and performing improv online.
Comedy improv.
Other than that, she's practically got nothing going on.
Hardly anything.
Sharon says, lots of icing is good, Cal. And Rebecca says, of the card, it's a giant card, more of a book.
Oh.
And I'm using all kinds of media, drawing paper, cutting collage, just finished the ink and watercolor pencil page. Ooh, that's great. Love that it can that it has the sequential nature like that. That's awesome. Sharon says, you can sing if you run out of words.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, a little scat never hurt anyone.
Well, I don't know that I would sing scat because I'm not really that.
Well, it just doesn't require you to remember the words.
No.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, the thing is,
right.
I think I remember the words of the songs I've learned just fine. It's just trying to speak to communicate the problem.
Darn sentences.
That's right. Good thing I'm not a teacher or anything. Oh, wait, I am.
Cheryl says, wow, that's a lot, Kim, of all the things you've got going on. It is.
It
makes my head boggle.
And ordinarily, I don't take on nearly that much, although normally I teach more, but it's actually coping mechanism for me to get through what has been a very emotionally
over a year now, right?
Straining more than a year. Yeah.
Sharon says it does look different against the grain, Kim.
It does.
Yeah.
It has a less sharp look. It has a softer look because the grain isn't going into the grain, getting grabbed by it. Yeah.
Gliding with it a little more
easily. It still chatters, but it's a softer one. It's quite interesting, actually. Now, let's see if I sort of go on its side and move slowly. Oh, yes.
Kim's happy now.
I can move slowly enough, though.
You're trying to sort of build the gradation where it's darkest at the tip and fades
No, the gradation is quite accidental. I'm just trying to get a mark that's continuous. It still chatters somewhat, but what's happening is it's burning little grooves and it's getting stuck there. It's like a car getting stuck in the mud.
In your research, did you find anything about optimal wood surfaces for wood burning, or does it?
Some woods are good. You want to avoid the ones that are poisonous when burnt.
Right, obviously.
This is Baltic birch, and it's one of the ones that's listed. And balsa wood is another one.
Right. I was just curious about how smooth the surface is.
You need it to be smooth.
Yeah.
The wood panel.
Yeah.
I wiped with a very damp cloth
Right,
first
to raise the
grain. When that was dry, then I sanded it lightly to
Mhm.
smooth it all out.
Yeah.
And because you want to reduce the, all this stuff of ending
Sort
up
of catching
stuck
on
in
stuff.
grain. It
Yeah.
would be much worse with
Yeah. Right.
with a lot of roughness to the surface. Plus, people who are good at pyrography can do really nice line work, which is to say smooth line work. And if you have a lot of excess wood sort of fibers sticking out, it interferes with your ability to do that.
Right.
So,
Which it's kind of like working on coarse paper with a
yeah.
nib,
I
right?
mean, I might enjoy it just
it
as
can
a
add.
thing, but professional pyrographers are usually looking for something. If you have something smooth, you can do things that make it less smooth.
Yeah.
But you can't do the opposite. You can't start with a rough surface and then make things more smooth.
So now I'm curious, with sandpaper, can you then sand some of what you've burnt to soften it or change its nature? I bet you could.
I mean,
it might be
it
interesting.
is slightly indented
Yeah,
because
of
of course
course.
it's burning
But it'd be
fibers.
interesting if it be interesting to see how it behaves. Susan Abbott, hello Susan.
Hi Susan.
Chimes in and says, I wonder if you could do this with a soldering iron.
Yes. You'd be soldering irons are pretty limited nib wise, but for sure you could draw with a soldering iron.
And Lisa Jane Irvine.
Lisa!
Yay! So glad to see / well, not hear you, but see you here. Yeah, she says, hello, Kim and Cal, wanting to drop in and say hello and happy Valentine's Day.
So nice, and you too.
And Lisa's had a rough go of it lately, so we're glad you're on the mend.
Yeah. That's so good. I saw your post on, I guess, Instagram showing your studio. So you've actually set foot in your studio for the first time, which is always a good sign. Seeing other parts of your house is really nice rather than just your sick bed. Yeah. So, yeah. I don't really know what I'm doing there. I'm supposed to be working on this heart, so I think I'll go back to my heart now that I've learned a few things about this nib.
Yeah, the final few minutes of that.
Oh, just a few minutes left, eh? Jeez, it's always like that. Okay, so I'm going to take advantage of the striation effect that happens, or the chatter, and use it. Hopefully use it to my advantage. Of course, I'm going to scorch it first. That's the important thing to do right away.
Yeah.
But the heart muscle is fibers, muscle fibers. So that chatter will communicate really the fibers very nicely. Yeah. So I'm going to use that.
Well, what's the name of your upcoming show?
Burnt Offerings.
So these pieces are going to be, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Lisa says, it's good you can't hear me. Too much coughing.
Yes. I bet.
Yes, slowly trying to get back on my feet.
Yeah, and nice and slow.
Yeah, but this is what I need. Always so inspiring, Kim.
Ah, it's so good to have you here. It's good to have all of you here.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the fact that we have such lovely community.
Well, look at our fearless leader.
See, he's already buttering me up for Valentine's Day. Isn't that nice? Well, I'm glad I was able to make some headway on this heart today, because I wasn't sure at the outset, given how troublesome that shader nib was, how well I'd do. That's one of the things that it's true of all art forms. You have to be willing for things to go badly in order to allow things to go well. Because you have to persist. So I'm learning singing, and I'm learning that you have to just go for it. That high note that you've been working on, but you don't always nail, getting good tone, all of that. You just have to go for it. You can't, and risk singing badly.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, you won't sing as well as you could. And writing, same thing. You have to allow yourself to write badly to write well.
Yeah,
to say
exactly.
It's okay if this is crap. I'll edit it later, or I'll delete it, or I'll whatever.
The best way to good whatever is through the bad, right?
Yeah. Allowing that possibility,
exactly.
and saying, and starting off that way.
Yeah. Tell the judgment part of your brain that it's on vacation, and you're just going to be doing some.
Well, you have to when you're creating, because it's a different part of, it's a different function of your brain.
I preach that.
The generative,
all the time. Yeah, exactly.
The generative part of your brain is what you want when you're making.
If you're being creative, you need to tell the judging part to take a hike.
Yeah,
and it has that discussion later.
Exactly. Right? It doesn't get a say until after you're done, or done a stage. Oh, I am liking what's going on here. Yeah. So, isn't that a beautiful texture?
Totally.
And it's tonal, it's got these
$1 calls.
Different fades.
She's gonna be doing all night tonight.
Yeah, I have I may be doing a computer consulting, because, in addition to teaching, I do a little Mac computer consulting stuff for artists or photographers typically.
Sharon says, I think you have to sing the ending of this today.
Sing the ending?
Of your session today.
Oh!
And she will hasten to say that she hasn't warmed up.
Right. I certainly will hasten to say that. The only thing that's warmed up is my chest voice, because that's what we use speaking. Oh, I'm getting a smooth effect with these lines. That's fun. It's a smaller area, so I couldn't use the same technique as I was using in those larger areas. But it's quite nice. Different effect.
I can totally see something like a wood burning like this that you do at a relatively small scale, like you're working here, but scanned or photographed and blown up really big, so that those marks are like really textured
Well, we have the technology.
We do.
I have a lot of photography I need to be getting on with, because one part of my burnt offering show needs a bunch of new photography done for it. And the other show, it's all photography, and it's all this new photography. So, of course. And does it oppress me a lot, day after day? Yes, it does, until I actually get some of it done. It's going to do that. But it'll be so great when I do finally get a bunch of it done, because then I'll be able to play with it and see the possibilities. So my burnt offering show there's a lot of photo-based work going to be in it, but in different forms and of different kinds, and self-portraiture. Like when we say goodbye, I'll point out what was behind me when you can see my face. So a whole series I've done of self-portraits related to the theme of the show. But there's a new phase, a new stage of that self-portrait series that I haven't done yet that I'm kind of excited about.
Well, you piqued our curiosity now.
Yeah.
Susan Abbott says, this burning seems to mesh really well with your current body of work. And she says, you probably mentioned that earlier, but I was late joining in.
No, it's totally cool that you mention it, Susan. Yeah.
It's because I was in a much less useful live stream.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I mean, they're
but I'm
not
glad
all-
you joined us.
Yeah, glad to have you along.
Yeah. Yes, so I mean, I'm doing hearts, so it's connecting up the new show with the, ongoing existing body of work. But Burnt Offerings is the title for the new show, and the solo one. And there are images of fire, and there are things that will be either actually designed to be burnt or based off of things that are normally designed to be burnt. So, and wood burning, of course, fits right in with that. And one of the nice things about the wood burning is that you, for quite some time, you can smell the burnt wood on the when you're near the surface of the drawing. And I actually want that to be part of the show, that experience.
Well, if you've done work a long time in advance, I mean, I know all of it won't be done a long time in advance, just by nature of it, but you could sort of have some recently charred wood to act for the aromatic part, right?
That's right.
Yeah, just put it in an inconspicuous place in the gallery so that you get that
yeah.
lovely, yeah.
We have quite a bit of wood we can burn in the backyard, right? Because I'm thinking maybe we could turn a bunch of it into charcoal, basically big chunks of charcoal.
Yeah.
And I could heap some of that into a mound.
Right.
Yeah. Here I am, engaged in studio process on one thing, and generating ideas for something else. I honestly, today, I think very often actually, Virtual Studio Party is an authentic representation of me as an artist in my studio. What am I like? What do I do? I say, oh, I'm going to, try this tool, or I'm going to work on this book or whatever. And I usually have a starting point. Like I knew this tool and I was going to draw a heart, right? And that's all I need. And then the rest of it's kind of up to good luck or bad luck and what develops. But I was talking with someone the other day about the fact that that's how I like to represent studio practice, because it feels honest to me. I'm not things aren't all predetermined, and things aren't all, even when I plan, and I do plan, like this burnt offering show, I actually planned out months ago, but it's constantly in a state of flux and evolving, and new ideas and objects. I just ordered some things the other day that I hope will be in the show. They relate to what's in the show. But we'll see how it actually ends up in the final analysis. It's always a surprise to me. Even though I plan solo show like this in a high profile place, I plan the bejesus out of it, but it still ends up always being a surprise to me in many respects. One of them is because you never know what the feeling of it and the experience of it will be until it's actually up. I make maquettes and I do little plan views or whatever, or elevation views, but there's nothing like being in the space, in the midst, because it is a spatial dimensional experience.
Lori says she appreciates the atmosphere of these sessions.
Oh, thank you, Lori. That's really sweet. I really appreciate what everyone brings to this, because we've had some really lovely conversations.
And it ranges from very just like hanging out and to like, and sometimes it gets really,
quite
really
profound,
and or interesting artistically and so on.
Or there are lots of questions to answer, or
exactly. Which is
I love
awesome.
that. I love that whole range.
Lori says, great vibe.
Aww. Oh, this is building up nicely, I think. It's sort of more, it has a warmer effect than normal hatching, and yet it is hatching. You know, it's just hatching done in a different way.
You know, every tool has its language, right?
Yeah.
And this has a lot in common with pen and ink.
It does.
It has some in common with like pencil.
Yeah.
You know, the closest thing I can think of is, you know, when you have a marker that is deliciously running out, but it can still produce some wet. Yeah, so it's wet when it goes down, and then as you stroke away, it like fades out.
Yeah, and it's like that.
Yeah, that's the closest thing I can think of. But isn't it great the way every tool has its own? I do like that. I'd love to bring Vincent back and give him one of these to do some of his pen and ink drawings, but on wood.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He means Van Gogh, but they're on a first name basis.
Vinny and I.
Vinny and I. You know, he was Dutch, right? Not Italian.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm just, you know.
That was funny. Which was the point? Are we coming up on the time?
No, we're past it. So I was just going to say that if you, since we normally go to 3:30, if you have to leave us, we totally understand. Kim is going to do probably a couple more minutes, right? And then,
I just want to get a few more little areas filled in so that there's a more substantial feeling to the development.
I'm not sure she did. Sharon asks, did you mention the brand of burners these are, or can you in the description later?
I certainly can. I can put a link to them in the description later. What I did mention was the fact that these aren't one of the good name brand type of burners. And I was starting to think at the beginning of this that perhaps that was a mistake that I should have. But I've found I guess a couple of nibs that are working quite nicely for me. So
yeah. So
and the price was pretty good.
Compelling, right?
Yeah.
Susan says it also reminds me a bit of linocut because of the potential for errors that can't easily be fixed.
Yeah.
The permanence of the marks. Absolutely, right? I mean, it's like, I went too dark, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, that was the lovely thing about discovering that with that previous nib, I could draw lightly. Now, it was imperfect, right? It was blobby, like you can see over here, the little blobs.
And I'm looking at this stuff thinking, oh, no, I want to try it, but I want to try it with like doing that, using the tool, right?
Yeah.
But then like, what happens if you sand it? What happens if you like wash over it with a watery or medium down paint so that it just catches in it a little bit?
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. Lori says, encourages us to do our own work that may not be performative. Today I was hand sewing, routine stitches, but still very important to the end product. Exactly.
Fantastic.
Right?
Yes.
That's actually a really great thing to do with half of your mind, right? We're sort of hanging out, chatting, and then it gives the hand something to do. Especially if you've got like a plan, right, Lori, where you sort of, it needs to be done, it needs to be filled out, or it needs to be completed.
But you don't have to be concentrating
but you're
on
not
it.
like, okay, what is the what does this need to do? What does this need to achieve? It's like, you've got that part figured out already. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I really like the way you express that, Lori. I may quote you on that, or just steal it.
Great artist steal, right?
Yeah. No, the problem will be I'll remember the sentiment and not remember who
words,
said it or where I heard it, or that's usually the problem. But I hope you'll forgive me if I do.
You know she will.
Okay, this is a very skinny section. I'm actually going to. These won't be straight. They'll be more irregular. But I think that's okay.
That is the nature of it, right?
And I'll shade it a little bit next to the vein itself.
Yeah, to
give it a bit of dimension that way. There.
Hit it with a little unsharp mask, eh, Kim?
A reference to Photoshop for anybody who doesn't recognize that.
Sharon says, 440 here in Nova Scotia. Oh, cool. I didn't know that you were out there.
You moved to Nova Scotia. Wow.
But I can always have a beverage while I watch. I love watching. This is a very pointillistic technique, very calming.
Yeah, the kind of repetitive motion it's calming to do as well, and it's very conducive to this kind of setting, like Lori's stitching. Talking while doing it is not a big problem.
And Lori says, honored to help, feel free to use.
Bless you. That's very kind of you. Okay, I'm just going to do this one more little section, and then I'll feel like I've got a decent sort of amount filled in. You know, I'm not going to continue with the first heart until I find that tool, unless
you don't find
it takes forever, and then in which case I'll just finish it in a different tool. But it's very nice to keep with the same language. Oops, there we go. Okay, Kim, put your tool down. Honestly, safety first, kids. And here I am modeling it like crazy.
And do you need to turn it off? Probably a good thing to do.
That's a good idea. Yeah. That's a good idea. Okay. So there, whoops, wrong direction. Always the wrong direction. It's amazing.
Looks awesome.
So that gives you an idea of the scale too. I think that texture is really kind of dynamite.
Yeah, it is.
And so if cool. I tilt it, you might get a sense of the texture. See how the light's hitting some of those dark things? Yeah.
And it seems to glisten just slightly.
It does.
Yeah.
That's definitely a thing that happens. When you think about charcoal in a fire, well, wherever you've had a fire, charcoal has a sheen to it.
Yeah.
So the darker the lines or marks, the more sheen there is. As the carbon, I guess, the purer the carbon, or the more the quantity of carbon, the shinier it gets. So that's what I would infer from that. So I guess I should switch to base. I'll just do this slowly so it's not sickening. I can do this. Thank you. Okay, so you can see from back there one of the self-portraits and an image of fire. So those are a couple of tests I did that I think I showed in a previous virtual studio party, is the panel has been painted with aluminum paint first, and then I've done image transfers of photographs onto it. So more coming along those lines. I've got some actual aluminum to transfer onto. And if this totally hadn't worked out, then I would have switched to doing that. But I'm so glad that I've got some really interesting stuff happening with it. I can feel all kinds of possibilities now with the wood burning. And as usual, whenever I discover something like this, I want to do a portrait using it. But I need more skill first.
Well, you build it pretty quickly because you're on a mission now, right?
Yeah. So thank you for being part of that, everybody. That's
So Sharon says, cool, great seeing you guys. Likewise, Sharon.
fantastic to see you, Sharon.
And Rebecca says, shine is great, like the shine put in medical textbooks with graphite for anatomical drawings. Oh, I didn't know that they did that. That sounds like a special additional ink.
Oh, I'm very interested to hear more about this, Rebecca.
Yeah.
With given my interest in things anatomical, that sounds really fascinating. Yeah. So, yes, do let us know more.
Cheryl says, thanks for another friendly and encouraging session, Kim and Cal. Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed it, Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl. So glad to have you here. All right. Well, if you celebrate Valentine's Day, I certainly hope you have a lovely one. And if you haven't already celebrated it, and it's done. And I forgot to mention, Cal and I had an anniversary, and we decided that we were going to reboot our 30th anniversary because we never did anything proper for it because of COVID. So we got ourselves new rings for it. So I have on my hand the old gold ring. We used to each have one identical, but I lost mine, and then Cal lost his. But Cal found his years later in a little dusty corner of our bedroom. And then this black ring is a form of titanium that,
It's zirconium, isn't it? Or black zirconium?
Oh, I thought it was titanium. And that's why I bought it, because I associate that with my father.
Oh.
Maybe it's zirconium.
I thought it was.
Okay, it's zirconium. But I have to believe him because my recollection of things
I'm
is
pretty sure.
poor. But this is Cal's, and he's got, I'll just raise your hand and back it up so that it's in the light.
Can you
got
raise your
copper and cast iron, and it looks amazing. Doesn't that look beautiful? Anyway, his skin color is so great for copper. So I just wanted to share that with you because it's a nice thing and very, very suited to Valentine's Day. So
Val says, thanks. Interesting as always. See you next week. And
thanks,
Susan
Val.
says, always inspiring. Rebecca says, thanks. I'll tell you the little I know another time.
Awesome. So, thank you, Rebecca.
Rebecca says, lovely.
Yeah. So do take care, everybody.
Yeah.
And you know that, do we have, I don't know when Family Day is. So can you just check the calendar to make sure we are, in fact, on your channel next Monday?
I think next Monday we are not, because I think next week is Family Day.
Okay.
So we will have a 1-week hiatus.
Yeah.
And we will join you again on the 28th.
The 28th of February.
Last day of February for virtual Collage Jam. On
Cal's channel.
On my channel.
And the link for that will be in the description for this video. Yeah. So we look forward to seeing you. Enjoy Family Day. We're making an effort to actually take the long weekends after a fashion. So that's why we won't see you next Monday. But we'll see you on the 28th. And have a good couple of weeks and an excellent Valentine's Day.
Thanks so much, Sharon and Lisa, for your comments. I'll pass them on to Kim after we leave.
I look forward to them. Yes, prompt. You'll get a prompt email.
Exactly. That's
Thanks,
right.
because Rebecca's on the
There
job.
we go.
Yay!
Yes.
We've got superpowers now.
Exactly.
Okay, everybody. Bye for
Take
now.
care. Bye-bye.